Hello everybody and welcome back to the internet's best reactions to the British Grand Prix. As you can tell, I'm going through some sort of grieving process. My voice has gone as well because I was in the grandstands screaming for a certain someone to win the race, and it didn't happen, did it? But anyway, as you can see, I'm in person because we've been camping with lots of WTF1 fans at the WTF1 clubhouse here at Whittlebury. It's been amazing, apart from the fact I'm about the same colour as this t-shirt. I thought this t-shirt was going to be so relevant. I mean, it still is relevant because, you know, that is me, but I thought maybe there's going to be a P1. Anyway, your reactions were amazing. Let's dive into them right now. Let's begin at the very beginning because that is where we always begin. And this time we have a lot to talk about, don't we? I'm going to be quite a low voice because my voice is ruined. @_URyan, Hamilton to Verstappen. Of course, Hamilton and Verstappen were going absolutely just balls to the wall, weren't they really? You know, they were fighting so hard on lap one. Hamilton knew he had to get past Max on that first lap with the extra straight line speed that he had, and it was getting a little bit close, especially through turn one. He almost nipped Verstappen on the right rear, but managed to get away with it, and it's just been bubbling over, hasn't it, a little bit. With Imola, for example, Hamilton going over the curbs, it's always been coming, and today at the British Grand Prix, it happened. Hamilton and Verstappen crashed at Copse Corner. Now, I've watched it a few times, not too many times, and I'm not going to just put my opinion of being like, oh, Hamilton should get this or whatever. I feel like Hamilton maybe had a bit more to play in the whole part of crashing because he missed the apex quite heavily at Copse. Obviously, Verstappen had a huge crash. I'm glad to see that he got out of the car and hopefully he's going to be okay for the next race. But I can understand the penalty. I'm not going to get into it too much because I know that there's going to be a lot of debate about it, and we'll save that for the podcast. @Salty0297 also says lap one. I could not believe it. Of course, Max has been slowly but surely just eking his advantage to Hamilton over the last few races, and Hamilton really needed to win, especially in front of the British fans. You know, it's been an amazing support for him, for Lando, for George, and Lewis, of course, you know, just needed to make it happen, and it ended in a massive crash. Of course, Lewis now comes away with maximum points. It doesn't feel, it's just a weird feeling, to be honest. The fact that he's, you know, come away with maximum points. Max himself hasn't scored any because he was in the wall. And yeah, it's a big swing in the championship fight. And we're going to look back at Silverstone as a huge swing if Lewis ends up winning the championship. @JamesMO91697622. When Max crashes out in the first lap and George is down to P14. Oh, I just don't know what to say about George Russell anymore. Of course, he had an amazing qualifying in P8, then sprint qualifying, finished P9, then he got that three-place grid penalty for crashing with Sainz. Of course, I haven't even mentioned our new format. Of course, we're not going to do an internet's best reactions just to sprint qualifying, but it's worth mentioning Fernando Alonso was the star of the show in that, and George Russell, you know, held on to 9th, but then got that three-place penalty with Sainz down to 12th, and then he just can't seem to get that start that we're all looking for George to get himself in the mix for points. Of course, again, the British Grand Prix not being the time that George gets points in the Williams, but it will come eventually. We'll look back at, you know, 2020, 2021, where we're like, oh, George points when he's in a better car, and no one will really remember because he'll be scoring points week in, week out. @Disney City FC, Netflix right now. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. 100% it's going to be in the intro teaser. It's going to have a whole episode about it. Of course, you've got Mercedes and Red Bull that are absolutely livid with each other, I think, and there's going to be a lot of comments, maybe even appeals. I don't know what's going to really happen from this Grand Prix because it has been pretty spicy, what we heard over the FIA team radio as well. Both of them very much defending their driver. Of course they would. I'd love to see what they're going to come out with over the next few days. @IEpicGreen_YT, Horner after Max crash. Yeah, he was very angry, wasn't he? He was pretty much absolutely convinced that Lewis should not have put a tyre there. It's difficult because obviously, you know, some people are screenshotting Lewis and Max, you know, side by side, but then Max has gone in much quicker into Copse Corner because, you know, that's the preferential line. Lewis, you know, of course, just sticking a nose in, and, you know, I think if Lewis Hamilton wasn't 30 odd points behind in the championship, he's not a chance putting his nose into that corner and trying to take Verstappen there. But alas, maybe a slight bit of desperation. I think so. At Toby_King58, Horner on the pit wall after the crash. You can tell there are a lot of memes about the crash because, I mean, it's one of the biggest moments in the championship fight and quite possibly one of the most controversial incidents in a very long time between two championship protagonists. So Horner was very, very angry. You know, Michael Massey, I'm sure, was just kind of sat there going, guys, I can't do anything. You know, he's getting phone calls from Mercedes, phone calls from Red Bull. He's got, guys, I'm not the one to decide this. The stewards are investigating it. Leave me alone. So I love a lot of people are calling him Michael Sassy. I don't think he was too sassy this time around. He has been sassy in the past. But I love the FIA team radio stuff. I cannot stress how much I love that sort of insight to what the teams are saying to the race directors. So yeah, keep that up, F1. Now, of course, on one side you had Red Bull ringing up, and of course Mercedes were as well, but then you said that we heard that Toto had basically sent him an email to describe his feelings about the whole incident. At RatsJane12, Toto to Michael. Just that whole thing. We never in a million years would have heard that before, and I just love the fact that we're just sat there, well, I was sat there in the grandstands, of course, frying, but a lot of people sat at home, you know, with their popcorn, in probably nice, cool conditions. I'm very jealous, and just listening to all of that unfold is just brilliant, isn't it? And finally, on that whole incident, the FIA team radio, etc., at Blue191998, Massey every time Christian and or Toto come on the radio. Keep it up, boys. I mean, I absolutely love the fact that now the gloves are definitely off. You know, Max Verstappen is by no means taking this like, oh yeah, no, Lewis, let's have a chat. You know, we'll clear the air and move on. That this is personal now. It's, you know, it's, oh, you've done a great drive, Lewis. Oh, you were great as well, Max. You know, it's none of that anymore. I feel like it's about to get spicy, and I'm so ready for it. So of course we had a red flag after that incident, and after the restart, Sebastian Vettel had a bit of a whoopsie, didn't he? At mburris045, Vettel at the restart. Bit of a weird one, really. I'm not sure if there's been any insight as to why exactly he did it, but it just seemed like he lost it on traction. So Seb, you know, he's had such amazing performances, but then he's also had some absolute shockers. So still getting a handle of the Aston Martin, it seems. So of course, I haven't even mentioned with Hamilton and Verstappen crashing, it just put Charles Leclerc in the lead. And I mean, for those of you that are long-term viewers, you would know that I'm, you know, well, it says it on the T-shirt for Charles Leclerc, but the fact that he took the lead, I was thinking, okay, calm, just relax. You know, I was sat in chapel, the sun was blazing, no cover, so, you know, I was getting hot anyway, and then seeing Charles Leclerc in the lead, I thought, you know what, Hamilton will probably get him in a couple of laps, you know, and he'll clear off. Then he gets to, you know, halfway through the race, and Charles Leclerc's still winning, and my heart rate was going up quite substantially. And as you can imagine, you know, it's just, Ferrari just came out of nowhere and were leading the race and had good race pace. It was unbelievable to watch. So I should probably mention the tweet, shouldn't I? At Brendan Netto, Leclerc in the lead with Hamilton in second with 10-second penalty. I believed at that point that it was a very big chance that Charles Leclerc could win that race because his race pace looked good. In the sprint quali, he was pretty good. He kept up with Bottas and he looked quite comfortable out in the lead. But he didn't win. I'm not over it yet. This filming is happening far too early after me kind of just understanding that Charles Leclerc didn't win that race. I was so convinced with 10 or 11 laps to go, 8.8 seconds in the lead. I remember the commentator coming over the speaker and saying, 11 laps to go, 8.8 seconds the gap. I was like, it's done. You know, I'm seeing him coming through Maggots and Beckett's. I'm like, he is miles ahead. This is easily in the bag. And it wasn't in the bag. It was in Lewis's bag. Unbelievable.
Who has won Tweet of the Week?
Right, it's Tweet of the Week time now. This one's brilliant, made me laugh a lot. Firstly, because we saw Fernando Alonso do it in the sprint race with his very aggressive defending. And it comes from @AlfieShort9, Alonso defending from Stroll. That's just like the Giga Kubica memes that we saw from a few years ago. And it made me chuckle. So well done, Alfie. It was actually from the sprint quali, that. But yeah, it just made me chuckle. And you win. Well done. You win an amazing Fanatec prize, Alfie. Now, I know I said it was the end of the memes between Mercedes and Red Bull, Hamilton versus Verstappen. I found a few more, sorry. At Maximilian1938, I want to speak to the manager. I mean, that is so Karen-esque. It's oozing Karen. I want to complain to the manager. It's a brilliant Photoshop, Maximilian, and you've definitely got runner-up for Tweet of the Week this time round. But yeah, that's something else. At stomp_NL, Michael, I sent you an email, please respond. It's quite weird that Toto sent him an email, isn't it, really? It's very formal and, he could easily, Michael could have just said, I'm responding in 3 to 5 working days. So I'm surprised Toto wasn't marching down to the steward's office. Maybe they're not even allowed to do that with COVID protocol, but yeah, an email was a very strange option, wasn't it? At Luck510, where Russell, I know I've mentioned him before, I'm sorry, but it was the kind of that case. I was sat there and I was sat next to Tommy in the grandstands and, we were kind of looking and seeing that he wasn't actually that far ahead of Latifi. And we were going, what's going on here, George? You popped it in P8 in quali. And it just kind of, again, just reiterates the Williams works in a particular condition that no one really knows. And when it does work, George can utilise that beautifully. But when it doesn't, they just fall back and they just don't have the race pace, which is so sad. Now, of course, Charles Leclerc was leading for most of the race and it seemed like it was in the bag, 8.8 seconds, 11 laps to go, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy ride for Charles. It seemed like he was having a few problems. At OG_Luca5, Leclerc engine B-like. Now, of course, I was sat next to Tommy. We didn't have full commentary. We just had the commentary tannoy coming around the grandstands and things like that. But, where the cars are going past, you can't really hear what's going on. And all I heard was drama at Ferrari. And then I saw the gap had closed. And all of a sudden, I'm panicking. And then I'm hearing that his engine's cutting out. And it's just the worst thing in the world. So, yeah, I'm glad that Leclerc got to the end of the race without any sort of problems. But there were some moments where I was going, he's not going to finish the race, but then I'm thinking, well, Lando might get a podium, what's better? Of course, I'm wearing a t-shirt, so you'd think that I would want Leclerc to win instead. Well, I did want Leclerc to win, of course, but if he was going to drop out of first position, I then want Lando to win because of the atmosphere. So it was a massive kind of head scramble for me. So I'm glad the Ferrari didn't break completely, but I feel like they could have done a bit better and maybe Charles would have had a better opportunity if his car was working at 100%. And this pretty much sums me up beautifully. At Totti10 Elode, Leclerc, my engine cut. Everyone. that was literally me in the grandstand when I heard drama at Ferrari. I'm asking Tommy what's going on. I'm asking around, I'm going, what did they say? No one knew. And then I looked on Twitter and everyone told me and yeah, cardiac arrest nearly happened. Now, another bit of temporary pain, although this one actually was pain, was Lando's pit stop. Of course, running an incredible race ahead of Bottas and seeming as if, he had him pretty much under control. And then McLaren went for the aggressive strategy, pitted him first so that he could keep track position. And then they had the slow pit stop. And this is actually a double submission. So well done, Alfie Short. I didn't notice this, but here you go. Another one for IBR. At Alfie Short 9, Lando's pit stop, pain. Honestly, I'm not even kidding. The atmosphere when George and Lando went past was almost better than when Lewis was driving past. I feel like a lot of fans are ready for the new guard to arrive on the scene, and certainly they are, because the roars from those two were just awesome. So yeah, it's nice to know that, well, the Brits are so lucky, aren't we, that we've got so many good drivers to choose from. At JustAFanboy01, of course, had to include such a great Twitter handle. Leclerc's engineer trying to fix his engine. It just goes wrong, doesn't it? For the George Russells of this world and the Lando Norrises and the Charles Leclercs, just everything just seems to go wrong. At one point or another, of course, Lando's had a great season, but George Russell's just been having the absolute fair share of bad luck as an aeroplane is flying overhead. And I'm sure, it's actually it's a helicopter that says, "We love WTF1." So thank you so much for flying over. Awesome. At Michael_J Dean, everybody gets a slow pit stop. I think we had an Alpine had a slow pit stop. Carlos Sainz had a slow pit stop. By the way, when Carlos had that slow pit stop, and I didn't see that little yellow T to kind of really show me that was Carlos Sainz, and I saw a Ferrari sat in the pits for 3, 4, 5 seconds extra than it should have, I was nearly upside down in the grandstands. Honestly, I was going headless. And then I saw, and I was like, well, it's still sad for Carlos, but at least it's not Charles Leclerc. Is that bad? Probably. Now let's talk about Mercedes again. At Crazy Rockman, don't fight Hamilton. Of course, this was to Valtteri Bottas, who had a very mediocre race. I was a bit disappointed for his sake that he couldn't even take the fight to Leclerc. Of course, Hamilton had a 10-second time penalty and was still able to win the race, whereas Bottas didn't even beat Leclerc. I know he didn't have his drinks, that I heard. He didn't have his drink system working. So, fair play for even surviving the whole race in these heats with no drink. But his pace just didn't seem there for most of it. And of course, had a slow start as well, twice, and got overtaken by Charles Leclerc. Then he got overtaken by Lando Norris. So, yeah, Bottas, I don't know. He's obviously trying to play the team game. But is it enough? Or is George Russell going to get the seat? We're going to be talking about this, I'm sure, for a few more months. A battle that raged on the entire race was Sainz versus Ricciardo, or I should say Ricciardo versus Sainz, because Ricciardo was in front at Cosa 434. Sainz versus Ricciardo all race. Just those two could not be separated. I'm pretty sure they were within a second for at least half the race, and Sainz just couldn't get through. So, Danny Rick, I know you didn't beat Lando, but still a better performance, it has to be said. At _Lex_Great_ Lewis and Valtteri in the closing laps. I'm not sure if we can call Valtteri as a rocket as well, but it's just, I'm still absorbing what happened. Genuinely. Like, this isn't in chronological order, which makes me very upset, but that's because I was finding some bangers after I'd kind of gone past that in the race. But, guys, honestly, I genuinely thought that was in the bag. Genuinely. Just like when it was Leclerc winning in Bahrain, then he had that problem with his engine. I thought this was done. I was so close to tweeting, oh, you know, I'm really bored of Charles Leclerc dominated races. I'm so glad I didn't. Otherwise, half of you would probably be here with pitchforks. So yeah, I'm still grieving. I'm still grieving. I also found a few tweets when I was leaving the circuit at Papaya McLaren. Verstappen getting punted by Hamilton on a right-handed turn. Albon. He just loves hitting that right rear, does Hamilton, doesn't he? As we now have another helicopter. I mean, honestly, I know you guys love internet's best reactions, but please, we're trying to film. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Albon, maybe that's Albon in there. He wanted to see what I was saying about him, so good one, Alex. And as I mentioned at the start, with Netflix, you know, just piling up their content library at NotCallumIlot, Netflix's Drive to Survive editors listening to the team radios right now. They're going to have an absolute field day with 2021. I cannot wait to see how they over-dramatise an already pretty dramatic season, because Netflix will just add another layer of drama, even if you think it can't get worse than the last couple of years. I say worse, I still love Netflix Drive to Survive, but you know, it is a little bit cheesy with how dramatised it gets, so bring on the next season. Okay, Social Media Team Championship time now, and we had a few very good submissions, so let's dive into it right now for the British Grand Prix. In third place we have Williams Racing. We're running with GR63 in P14 and NL6 in P16 after the restart. Keep fighting. Update? No update. I think they expected an update, let's be real. I mean, you know, George Russell, how is he 14th at the start? I don't know. My voice is going, as you can tell, but well done Williams, 1 point. In second place we have Aston Martin Cognizant F1 team. From Toto to Michael, CC admin, to whom it may concern. It's a really good one, and Aston actually tagged me in a tweet as well, saying that they should get Social Media Team Championship. So I really appreciate Aston for just getting involved, helping me out, finding the banging tweets, even if it means giving their competitors some points as well. Aston are the sportsmanship team. That's not even a proper word. Sportsmanlike, sporting behaviour team. Well done, but you still get 2 points. Well done, Aston. And finally, the winners of the Social Media Team Championship are Mercedes AMG Petronas F1 team. Hang on. Just checking our emails real quick. Simple but effective. You know I love those ones. They're just short, they're sweet, they're funny, and that's exactly what Mercedes managed to bring to the table. So well done, Mercedes. You get maximum points. That's 1 point for Williams Racing, 2 points for Aston Martin Cognizant F1 team, and 3 points for Mercedes F1. Probably worth mentioning in this Internet's Best Reactions, I don't usually put in driver reactions, but I've just seen this and it is an absolute spice, just full drama, Netflix gobbling it up tweet that just means the rest of this season is going to be a madness. Max Verstappen has just tweeted this: "Glad I'm okay, very disappointed with being taken out like this. The penalty given does not help us and doesn't do justice to the dangerous move Lewis made on track. Watching the celebrations while still in hospital is disrespectful and unsportsmanlike behaviour, but we move on." Oh my goodness. That's all I have to say to that. Max, you're not in the Social Media Team Championship, but I'd give you a point just because that's just added so much fuel to the fire.
And now it's time for Race Rundown with your host, Matthew Gallagher.
Right, it's race rundown time now, and my voice is going. I'm internally combusting from the heat. I'm just going to bang it out first time. You ready? The finishers of the British Grand Prix were Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo. My eyes are watering. I think I've got sun cream in my left eye, and it's literally like burning. So I need to get this done soon. I think my eye's going to fall out. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, Stroll. A lock on. A lock on. Who is a lock on? A lock on. Hamilton. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Gasly, Russell, Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi. I don't think Giovinazzi counts. I was going to just carry on, but I feel like that's cheating. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, I don't know what I tried to say, but it was supposed to be Tsunoda. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Gasly, Russell, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Russell. Who is Russell Raikkonen? Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda. Tsunoda's so difficult when you see a T and you're English and you're like, well, that can't be an S, but it is. That's the way it's pronounced, Matt. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, honestly, I'm actually going to keel over. I don't have enough energy to be angry because I'm still grieving Leclerc not winning. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo. I didn't actually check if anyone was sat there. That could have been really dangerous. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Gasly, Russell, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Raikkonen, Perez, Mazepin, Schumacher. Damn it! So close. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Gasly, Russell, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Raikkonen, Perez, Razapin. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Gasly, Russell, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Raikkonen, Perez, Mazepin. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Gasly, Russell, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Raikkonen, Perez. It's Perez. It's because I've changed my pronunciation of it to the right way, and now it's screwing me. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Gasly, Russell, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Raikkonen, Perez, Mazepin, Schumacher. Oh, thank Christ for that. And the non-finishes were Verstappen, Vettel didn't finish. Oh well. Verstappen. There you go. Boom. Right, that is it. That is the end of the internet's best reactions to the British Grand Prix. Thank you so much to everybody that came and said hello over the course of the weekend. It was an absolute madness. I loved speaking to every single one of you. A special thanks to everyone that camped here as well. It's been an amazing experience. We'll have loads of social clips, things to show you what will be coming next year as well if you want to come along. It's been a really awesome experience. If you want to get involved next time, use the hashtag WTF1 on Twitter and we'll pick the very best ones to be featured in a couple of weeks' time, I think, for the Hungarian Grand Prix. If I'm not mistaken, I might have heat stroke and I may have got that completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. That is it. Thank you to Fanatec for sponsoring this series as always, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Goodbye! I can lie down, get in the car, air conditioning.
How many attempts was it?
Don't even ask.